Well, hello there. Thank you so much for coming and listening to this episode on Hacks and Hobbies. It just it just so happens to fall on my birthday, and I'm super excited for this specific birthday because I just turned 44. I know I told everybody 44 on the 4th, and I like the 444 idea in 2020. And what's funny is that I had no idea that this episode with Heather Parady was going to drop on my birthday. I'm super excited for this human being. I'm super excited for what she's doing on the Unconventional Leaders podcast and the leadership she's bringing to the Facebook group. It is so heartwarming that it just blows my mind. I look up to her. We're learning so much about each other, and this episode is very special and where we dig deep into how we create the power with our mind and focus on mental health, because if your mind is healthy, your entire body will be healthy, and to make your mind healthy you need to work on that healthy body. So thank you so much for coming and listening to this episode. Have an amazing day, and cue the episode. Thank you for tuning in to Hacks and Hobbies with your host, Junaid. We're visited by our amazing guests coming from all walks of life. Want to learn their story, their struggles, and their journey on how they got to where they are today. So stick around. In this episode, I get to speak with the host of the Unconventional Leaders podcast, Heather Parady. She has a master's in counseling and loves the topic of mental health. No wonder we're so attracted to each other in that mind, because we love mental health. We love the mind and the power that it can create. What's really interesting is that the underdog, or the person who had the most adversity, is someone who becomes the greatest. Her favorite thing to do in the world is traveling and meeting strangers. She got to be a zombie in Walking Dead and a lover of acting and running. I'm excited to bring her onto the podcast and talk to her a bit about her journey. So without further ado, enjoy the episode with Heather Parady. All right, so Heather, thanks for coming on to the podcast. This is Hacks and Hobbies. So the way I like to get started is, I have a little intro, but I like what you did with your Seth Godin podcast episode. And I'm sure you're doing the same thing on other ones where you're recording the intro after the fact, not wasting time of
Yeah,
the
and
guest
this is
or
why I do it because I've noticed, like, whenever I used to read bios, one of two things would happen. Either I would mess up something because I'd be
hmm
kinda nervous in front of the person reading their bio,
yeah.
or B, they would be, like, bored out of their mind. So that's why I pre-record them.
I've read that so many times.
Yeah,
I don't want to read it again.
yeah.
So we've been connected on the Unconventional Leaders for some time, and it's an amazing community that you've grown. I'm super excited and super, you know, honored to be part of it, to be able to collaborate with all the folks that are on there. Um, and we've heard of your story here and there. So tell us a version of a story that no one's heard before.
Oh, wow. The version of the story no one has heard before is uh how messy and windy and insecure I've been through the whole thing. We were just chatting prior about how you're always questioning yourself. If you could be like a fly on the wall, I'm amazed how many people think like, oh, you're so confident, blah blah. And people's perceptions are so interesting, because I'm not. Like, I worked really hard to take consistent action over the past few years towards this, like, um grayish dream of mine that I can't even articulate sometimes. and just move forward anyway. But the path has been so freaky and crazy. And I try to share as much as that as I can, but a lot of times people associate action with confidence. And I
Hmm.
really feel like you don't really become confident without action. You have to take action first in the midst of it all. So, long story short, the highlight of my story has just been this totally freaked out, unqualified girl who questions herself all the time and doubts and is freaked out and is wondering if she's making the right decisions, but stubborn as hell and just going ahead and trying anyway.
No, that's awesome because when you are consistent and you take action, I think that's the thing that a lot of people struggle. Like, okay, I'm studying, I'm reading, I'm consuming, but what action am I taking towards whichever direction I think I want to go? I mean, like they
Mhm.
say, when a plane takes off, it's not always pointing the direction that it needs to go, right? It's always changing courses, but it knows what destination it needs to get to. And it's
Mhm.
that journey that we all go through that makes the difference on how we really make the change and bring our reality or our dreams into reality, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah. There's so much hesitation around action because we want like a bullet point plan of like A, B, C, D, E. This
Yeah.
has been proven method for success. And that's why a lot of marketers are, really banking is because they
Mhm.
sell that formula.
Yeah.
And yeah, it may work for some people, but it doesn't work for everybody. And your path is going to look different than my path. And we have to honor that and trust our instincts that there's something intuitively telling us what the next step is, and that sometimes that step isn't going to make sense, and we're
Mhm.
almost always not going to feel ready for it. A lot of times planning and researching is a form of procrastination,
It is,
and
yeah.
we don't really figure out what feels right until we do it. And that's why the education system's so interesting, because a lot of times
Mhm.
people go through and they feel like learning everything is going to give them the answers, but until they get into the field and start doing the work, do they realize, is this really what I like and enjoy and
Right.
feel gifted in? That's why you see all these people with all these degrees they're not using. That's me. Because we have to become practitioners first and just really get in the dirt. And the truth is,
Yeah.
most of the stuff, unless you need a license for it, you can learn for free online. Anything and everything. The reason we buy courses and memberships and coaching and all of that, and there's nothing wrong with it.
Mhm.
I've bought all those things, I sell those things. There's nothing wrong with it. But the reason we buy it is for community and accountability,
Yeah.
because the truth is all the knowledge is already out there for free. Think of what you want to do. Go to Google, type in the exact phrase that's in your head. How do I do this? And you will find all the information
Oh
and
my
you can
god, yeah.
start today. It's not a knowledge gap, it's a courage gap.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
you make a really great point about people doing the research. It's almost like somebody bought Tony Horton's 90 P90X, and you probably heard of it,
Oh, yeah,
right?
sure.
And there's a review on Amazon, and the guy's like, I watched this entire thing and I didn't see any change. Right? Because they didn't you sure you can watch it, but you actually got to put in the effort.
Yeah.
And a similar example that from personal last year, so we bought a playset for the kids, and we bought it last spring, and it was sitting in the garage for at least 3 months. And I was like, all right, let me get this out and see what it's going to take to build it. So it came with a hefty 52-step book, and there's like 6 boxes. I'm like, all right, it's going to go in this space, make sure the space is set up. But then once I started working and following the step by step, I was able to complete it within 20 hours. Like 24 hours is how much it took me. I mean, sure, it took me about 3 days or maybe 2 weeks. I can't remember. But
Right.
I put in the time every day, 1 hour, 2 hours. I would bring the parts out, and it's got every single thing marked. There's little baggies with numbers and different types of screws. It tells you put these things together and you will get the result that you want. And I think that 20 hours got me the result that I bought for. And that's why marketing to a very niche audience, like, hey, you want to build a podcast? You got to find you got to make sure you follow these 4 steps. You want to launch a business, you got to follow these steps. And sure, you could do all the research you want, but you got to put in the work to be able to get to that destination.
Yeah. One of my favorite, I'm saying that jokingly,
Mhm.
questions is when people say, "Heather, should I do this? What should I do?" And I'm like, "Listen, there isn't a should or should, especially with like platforms, because I get all the time like, should I start a podcast?
Yeah.
Should I be on Pinterest and all this stuff?" And I'm like, I don't know, should you? Like, you have to figure that out for yourself. And the way we
Mhm.
figure that out, I think, is first of all, going first, tuning in to ourselves, not looking at all the noise and hearing all the things, because if
Yeah.
you do that, you're going to be on a crazy rabbit chase, because one expert will tell you this and another one will tell you that. Tune in and say, like, what feels right to me right now? What do I enjoy? Which I love why you bring up hobbies, in your podcast. Like,
Mhm.
what brings me life and joy? Do I enjoy talking into a microphone? Do I like writing on a blog? Do I enjoy spending my time doing this? And that is such a huge key thing, because this stuff
Mhm.
is work, man. Like, whether you like it or not, this is work. And so spend your time doing something you naturally enjoy, because you're going to be doing it for a little while if you want to
Oh
see
yeah.
success, you know?
Absolutely. And then the other thing that, you bring up some really good questions. Should I be on Pinterest? Should I be on these platforms? Well, you're absolutely right. You have to look into, okay, what I'm working on, what I'm working on today, or where am I spending my most time? Am I spending a lot of times in a group that talks about technology, in a group that talks about hobbies? If that's what your passion is, go after it with full force because that's bringing you joy.
Absolutely. And people want to be around people who are lit up and excited and in their zone. That's what we're attracted to. It's not about how much you know and all that. It's
Hmm.
about the energy that you're radiating and you really being in your lane. People love that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And folks just need to embrace their own energy and I and go after that. So I've been a user experience designer for the past 20 years, right?
So cool.
And it all comes to me kind of naturally because I've been doing it for so long. But I'm like, I want to do something different. Well, and then I was like, okay, I still can if I choose to. And that's why I have so many different hobbies because I just want to expand my mind and bring that knowledge back to user experience because we all experience things differently and we all come up with different ideologies. And when you expand your mind by looking into different things from different perspectives, I think you open up your mind even more.
Yeah.
And for example, when I took my beekeeping class 2 years ago,
So cool.
right?
That's so cool.
And I'm like, this is awesome. Like learning about queen bees and worker bees and drones and their life cycle. It's like holy smokes, all of this is decoded, is encoded in their DNA. They don't need to learn anything. It's pre-cycled. But human beings, we have the ability ability to learn new skills every
Yes.
single moment of the day.
Yes. And I've noticed myself getting so one dimensional too, where it's like I kind of stuff my own creativity and my own potential, because I'm not willing to get outside of the entrepreneurial marketing, digital stuff, and just
Mm,
explore other areas and do something that's completely outside of the box of that. And I notice anytime that I do engage in anything outside of that, I get the most ideas and I feel so much more alive when I do return to work. And it's hard for me because I'm a very type A,
mm,
masculine energy driven type person in real life. Like,
mhm.
it's hard pulling myself away from it. But man, this past year when I've been playing a little bit more, it's brought so much life to my
Yeah.
work.
Because I think what it does, it lightens up your other part of your brain. Because
Oh
you're
yeah.
analytical. Now you've got your right brain coming with ideas, being more creative, and it just connects things in ways that you can never imagine.
Yeah.
I think it was
Yeah.
Seth Godin that said, everything that you want to invent has already been invented. Like there's no new inventions coming on. It's people collaborating is what's
Yes.
happening.
Yes.
So powerful. So, what are some of your motivations for the things that you do on a daily basis?
What are some motivations? I'm really driven by the idea, and I don't know if this is healthy or not, but I'm being honest. The
Mhm.
idea of regret, like regret, really, I think about that a lot. There's a lot of people in my life who um, have that and didn't really run after things. So I'm really driven by that because I want to, whether I die when I'm 35 or 85 or whatever that
Mhm.
is, I just don't want that moment to be like, "Oh, I wish I woulda just gave a little more of myself and tried
Mhm.
a little more." And not in like a "I need to succeed" way, but just knowing you gave all you had and left all your cards on the table. That's what I'm really driven by, that, and, um, I don't know, I'm raising 2 daughters, and I want them to feel super, um equipped, and
Mhm.
I want them to just don't feel like things are limited because of anything, whether it's their gender or whatever. I want them, but they may grow up and want to be a stay-at-home mom and be like the best stay-at-home mom ever.
Mhm.
And I hope that they're the best, or might want to be a CEO of a company one day, or whatever they are. I just want them to feel like they're strong as a woman,
Yeah.
um, because I wasn't afraid to try and be strong as a woman myself, which hasn't been modeled to me a lot.
Mhm.
Um, and so I feel like I'm really trying to figure out what that looks like. Messy, super messy. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'd say those.
Nice. That's a really good point. Creating a model that that our children can look up to
Yeah.
and say, like, anything is possible. Like, I am possible. It's not impossible. It is I am possible.
Right.
Right. And I think I learned a lot of that from my mom and my parents because they're like, anything is possible. And my mom would, and I have these fondest memories. She'd pick up anything and make it happen. Like she still sews, like she's a, badass seamstress. And I keep telling her, you should be teaching this stuff to people. She's like, I don't want to do that. Why don't you do it? But like growing up, she's like, oh, this door is, getting caught up on this carpet. Let's just take the door out and then we just trim the bottom. I was like, what? You could do that? Like, yeah. So a lot of my hobbies, and the curiosity for them, I think comes from that need to be able to take things apart and put them back together.
So cool. And that came from her.
I think so. I mean, and
That's
then
cool.
the entrepreneurship, I keep thinking, why do I have this entrepreneurship need or curiosity or want to be able to do this? And every single one of my mom's siblings is in one type or another business. My my grandfather, he used to run a store back in India, right? He had like a, proper mom pop grocery store. You can go there, buy stuff. I'm like, that's really interesting. And then when I came to the States, my one of my uncle was doing event business. One of my other uncles, he was selling books, Islamic books and materials. One of them selling cars. So everybody's involved in some kind of entrepreneurship, business, and whatnot. And I was like, that's really interesting. And I keep coming back to it. And I've tried this so many different times. Launched, I came up with the name Humble Zone like 20 years ago. And I was like, okay, this is going to be like a web development company. I can assemble computers. And then it's changed over times. And it's just been really fascinating to see what's happening in the world. And like internet marketing has been so powerful, and I've been for some one way or another being pulled at it. I remember this one guy at Dale, um 15 years ago. He has something called the 30-day challenge where he teaches you the process of how to make $10 online. And then there was Frank Kern, and it's like it's all about the process. Once you know the process, once you break through that glass ceiling, it's not even a glass ceiling actually, it's a ceiling. Once you break through that ceiling, you see all these different possibilities.
Yeah. I think that's what I'm driven by it is
Yeah.
the you said it, possibility. Um, prior in my prior life, I was a therapist,
Mhm.
for really at-risk youth, and there was so much talent there, and but they would always just be like, so, like, "Okay, you have to go to school, you have to go to school," and some of them just weren't naturally, good at school, and there's nothing
Mhm.
wrong with that. I wasn't. I really struggled in school myself.
Mhm.
Um, but the internet has opened up this possibility where not only can you make an income, and a good one if you want
Mhm.
to, but also you can, like, impact and reach a lot of people for
Yeah.
very minimal costs
Yeah.
as of right now. And so, it's a really beautiful time to be alive. And I think, it's been demonized a lot. People are like, oh, things are getting so digital, it's ruining the world.
Mhm.
And I'm like, well, we can look at it that way. Or we can look at it and say, wow, look at the possibility here for good people to do great things with the tools that are in our hand.
Absolutely. That's what's just fascinating. And the one of the reasons why it's gotten such a bad rap is because those same people that use advertising for newspaper and television have taken over and blown the internet with all of these ads and pop-ups because they've brought that same philosophy to this world.
Hmm.
And that's what's turned people off. Like, I don't
Yeah.
really see pop-ups. I don't, there's ISPs for what was this light speed. You could get free internet access, but then you got to watch all of these ads and banner ads.
Yep.
This is, in the 90s and whatnot. But
Well, and we're
we
coming
are,
out of that. We're coming out of it. I think there's
we're,
a lot of hope.
oh yeah.
Seth Godin's freaking amazing. He talks about permission marketing.
Hmm.
And, used to, old school way of thinking about it is, you put something in front of somebody's face and they buy from you and they want to be involved in you because of its exposure.
Yeah.
Exposure doesn't work anymore. We have to connect and we have
Yeah.
to build trust and we have to get more human online, which scares the crap out of a lot of people. I was at
Hmm.
a workshop the other day and I told someone, I said, people just want to know who you are. And she goes, I don't want people to know who I am. And I felt so bad for her and I could empathize with that, you know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? But you're right, we're getting sick of it. It's getting it's having the opposite effect where it
Yeah.
used to work and people want to work with you. Now it repels people. And so it's really important for us as leaders and entrepreneurs and marketers to really have a cold hard look at ourselves. I'm not saying we have to put everything online. I mean,
Right.
people like Gary Vee, he doesn't put everything online. He doesn't post pictures of his personal life, but we
No.
feel like we know him.
We
You
feel
know
like
what
we
I
know him,
mean?
but we don't know his
And
person.
that's
Yeah.
not because of him being overly sharing. It's because when he does show up, he shows up fully and there's no fakeness there.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. And that's why he pushes so much around self-awareness. Like,
Hmm.
be self-aware of who you are. Sure, you might not want to share with people who you are, but come as you are in the context of what you love to do. So as long as you have that context, now you're making that connection.
Yep, absolutely.
One gentleman I interviewed, he's a realtor, but he's like, I love soccer. So he plays soccer, and through that soccer hobby of his, he's able to close so many deals because people
Oh.
playing with him, like, hey, you're a realtor. Hey, I'm looking at this house. Can you check it out for me? Or, do you know a good place? So those connections, you build that relationship with who you are personally, and then they're like, oh, you're good at this. Can you help me with this? I'm having this trouble, kind of thing.
Yep, it's that likability factor. So people are like, "Oh my gosh, which hashtag should I use? What time of day
Hmm.
should I post? Blah
Yeah.
blah," and all this stuff. I'm not getting any sales, and I'm like, because it's not about that. Like people want to know you. They buy from people they like.
Hmm.
Period.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely. And that's
Yeah.
why people come to you and like, "Hey, should I use this? Should I?" Because you're so likable and created this safe space for them to be able to vulnerable and ask these questions that they can easily get an answer if they did the search, if they did the look. But it's as leaders, it's so much easier to ask somebody who's kind of walked the path or kind of
Sure.
have access to resources.
Sure, sure. And it hasn't been, like, easy for me to kinda step into that because, like,
Yeah.
growing up, I was heavily bullied,
Mm,
heavily, heavily, and I've always been super uncomfortable in my skin, and
mhm,
that's why I built unconventional leaders because I always felt um, very outside the box. Like I had 0 friends. Like growing up,
mhm.
literally, I got beat up at a birthday party
Oh
once
my
because they
god.
didn't want me there. Like that's my life. Like you talk about nerd, like that
Oh
was
my
me.
god.
So I always felt weird and uncomfortable being me. And so it's been really difficult for me and I still struggle with like it's okay to be southern and quirky and energetic and bouncy and just me. Like I'm a very weird person and
Mhm.
I'm trying to lean more into that, but that doesn't come with a lot of kicking and screaming internally because in my
Yeah.
mind I think, no, you're 33 years old and you have children, you need to be a little more professional and
Mhm.
talk about how rich you are and how famous you are and how popular you are and how awesome your podcast. You know how people do. Like they want to be an influencer, so they try to
Yeah.
tell people how influential they are. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? And I'm like, I'm showing up and I'm like, dude, I'm freaked out and I don't have it all together. And
Yeah.
it's not an easy thing to do.
No,
Um,
it's not.
and it's not a one time thing. I told somebody
It's
yesterday, beginning is one thing, but you have to begin every day because when you
Mhm.
decide to start, you don't start once. You continually say yes to that dream and that vision. And it's not like you begin your podcast and then it's all over with.
Mhm.
That's just the beginning,
Yeah.
you know,
It's just a starting. You're just taking the first step. You've got more steps to go.
a lot of steps.
A lot of steps. Like it reminds me of that scene from Kung Fu Panda where he has to go up the steps.
Kung Fu Panda's the best.
It's the best. All right, man. This has been a lot of fun. We connect and talk online in one way or another. But then when you have this one to one, you now we're focused on one conversation and having that
Mhm.
deep connection. I think it really brings people together.
Yep.
And this is my favorite part of the podcast. Like everything else can be automated. And I've spent a lot of time trying to create automations and create ways to, okay, how can I minimize the time that I spend on this?
Yep.
And it's been a lot of fun discovering those avenues and those journeys, and it's been beautiful.
Yeah. Amen to that.
So now that we've got the journey part and motivation part out of the way, let's do some fun stuff.
Let's do it.
What is one hobby that you wish you got into?
That I haven't ever got into that I wish
Mm-hmm.
I had.
Yeah.
I wish I would have gotten into dancing.
Mm.
I love to dance and
Mm-hmm.
I'm terrible at it. But I don't care. Like, I
No.
think what a great exercise. It's fun. I like music. I pursued music for a while, but I wasn't very good at it. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like told multiple times, you don't need to do this,
Yeah.
which hurt my feelings. But dancing, you don't have to be good at music. You can just like flop around.
Yeah.
And I would have loved to have done that. I never did. I've never taken a lesson. I've never done anything with it.
Well, you are teaching some moves on TikTok, so
Oh, those are good, aren't they? Yeah,
those are
missed my
awesome.
calling in life, didn't
Those are
I?
awesome. There's still time. There's still
Yeah.
time. What did you want to be when you were a child?
A figure skater. And then
Mm.
president of the United States equally. So figure skater because they were graceful and beautiful, but then the
Mm-hmm.
president because they were in charge.
Mm.
And I liked the idea of both of those.
A graceful and charged president.
Yep. So the president who could like figure skate while they lead,
Yeah,
that would have been my ideal job.
I'm sure that can be arranged. I'll call some people.
Why not? I mean, why not? Country's seen enough. Like we might as well just go there. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. What is your favorite movie or TV show?
Favorite TV shows: Walking Dead,
Oh,
uh, hands down, slash The Office, which are the most two bipolar things in the world. You have dead
mm-hmm.
zombies and you have Dwight Schrute on one side, but they're both amazing. Favorite movie, I love The Pursuit of Happiness a
Oh my
lot. I
God.
love Will Smith, and I love the whole dialogue with his son, and, like, "You can be anything," and I'm like, "Oh," and I'm like a big old baby crying through that thing. It's just a good old movie. It's a great movie.
That is a amazing movie. And I think that one is on one of my top 10 lists as well because it shows the journey, the struggle
The real
that
stuff.
every person goes through in one way or another.
And this is the thing, if he woulda quit or gave
Mhm.
up, no one would have blamed him. It wasn't like giving up and quitting is the hard part, and that's the thing with this stuff is no one's asking you, no one's blaming you, like,
No.
there is nothing pushing you to do some of this stuff, and it's
Yeah.
almost unrealistic, and that's what makes it so hard because it's easy for us to say no to bad things or wrong things, but when
Mhm.
we have to say no to good things for something greater, that's
Yeah.
when it gets a little crazy because there's
Yeah.
no realism there, and that's what I love about
Mhm.
that movie is he coulda quit, and he probably should have, like, we wouldn't have blamed him, like,
No.
he had a horrible time, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, that's a powerful one. And then for the TV shows, Walking Dead, I've been watching that religiously and then I stopped because I couldn't handle somebody else in charge.
That's a traitor, you can't say that.
But
You have to
listen,
stick with it to the
I
end
went
too.
back, right? I took a
Okay.
break. And it had to do with I got myself fired and bunch of
Mm.
things. But I went
That's
back.
not the most uplifting show to watch during that time.
Yeah. Like, oh shoot, that's going bad. My real life is going bad.
Yeah,
This is
that's
not fun.
valid. So,
It's
I was in Walking Dead, you know that?
no.
Yeah, so this past season, season 10, I was on it
Mhm.
7 episodes. Um, and it was like the time of my life. And so
Mhm.
here's a really good point.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurship, digital marketing, all this stuff. So this is so silly. I have a business that's online, which has given me the opportunity to be a zombie when I wanted to. If that's not your motivation to go digital, y'all. Like I
Yeah.
remember getting a call and they're like, "Hey, do you want to be a zombie on The Walking Dead?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm gonna cancel my meetings tomorrow." And I'm like driving there. It was so
Please, yes.
cool. It was
Yeah.
the cool experience. So yeah, 7 episodes.
That's that's friggin' awesome. I'll have to look it up. I had the opportunity to be on FBI, the TV show, the season
Wow, that's cool. How
premiere
did you do
for
that?
season 2. So I heard about backstage.com a few years
Mhm,
ago and I was like,
mhm.
"Let me get it. It's only $100."
Yeah.
And my buddy who's a theater artist, he's into all sorts of things. He's like, "Dude, check out Backstage. I'm in New York doing TV shows and blah blah blah." I was like, "All right, let me check it out." So my first gig that I got on there was to be a patient for Kaiser Permanente ad. My second thing was a a baby boomer who's looking for a retirement plan. So I'm like 55 and older. I'm on a beach, walking with my old wife, and I've got it's like a retirement ad. And
No
then
way.
yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah. So then I saw this thing for they're looking for, somebody Middle Eastern, and this thing is New York, and it's an extra role, right? I was like, all right, I'll go. So I drove overnight to New York and stayed at my cousin's house. Then the next morning I, got up and went on set. And then I had this long thing that you wear, the Arabs wear. So I was like, I have this thing. It's like, oh, all right, perfect. Nobody else has that. You put it on. In the first 2 minutes of the first episode of season two for FBI, you'll see me like walk in as this explosion. It's the aftermath of this explosion at
you
this
remember
Egyptian
season 2,
restaurant.
episode what?
Yeah.
You remember which
So
episode it was?
it's the first episode.
The first episode of
Yeah,
season 2. I'll have
yeah.
to look that up. That's hilarious.
It's like 2 minutes, not even 2 minutes, maybe like 30 seconds that I'm in there. Like, oh,
Hey,
that's me.
I think that's cool.
I
I think
know.
it's cool. I mean, how many
So
people can say that? You know what I mean?
exactly. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
I was an FBI. What's also cool is so I love acting or I love being, on either side of the camera because it's such a beautiful thing to be able to do.
It's collaborative, and that's
It
what I
is.
really miss right now within our space is it's
Hmm.
so like, okay, we connect all the time on
Yeah.
Zoom, but it's different when you have like 100 people working on one project, bringing in all their geniuses. It's such a cool thing. I'm the same way. If I could
Yeah.
like do that full time,
So what's awesome is that I connected with a lot more actors
Mhm.
after that, and I was like, all right, let's to hear your story. And there's one gentleman, and he was a corporate, he was a corporate, he had a corporate job for the longest time, and he's like, I had a dream to be in the commercial, like in TV. So he told his wife, I want to do TV. So she's like, nobody's gonna pick you up. So, anyways, he got the role to be the spokesperson for Advil, and that ad played for ages, right? And then he got, anyways, one time he's watching House of Cards, and he's like, I want to be on that show. So he called up his agent. Season two, he is the Speaker of the House in the movie. So in the TV show. So yeah, you just got to put like we said, what we're talking. We just got to put your mind to it to be able to get to that next level. And we have so many resources available too.
Google.
Yeah. Google masterclass.com has all these acting courses, which is super cheap. I mean, you want to learn from Jamil, what's his name? Samuel L.
Samuel
Jackson, not
Samuel L. Jackson.
Samuel
Mhm.
Jackson, and
YouTube too.
YouTube
YouTube,
as
and
well.
there's a
Yeah.
lot of podcasts. I listen to a lot of acting podcasts.
Hmm.
Fascinating, fascinating.
Wow, that's awesome. All right. So we talked about movies and TV shows and what we love about it. All right. This one you're gonna love. What movie would you choose if you get to play a character in it?
What movie would I choose? Um, Probably the Queen Princess in Braveheart.
Mm.
A, she gets to wear some badass dresses.
Hmm.
B, she's a ruler and she's like a total like leader woman. So again, going to that grace and ruling thing, I like that. I like that little balance there. So it would definitely be like a medieval. There'd be swords and there'd have to
Hmm.
battles and stuff. But I think that's what I'd do.
Nice. I like it.
Plus
I
Mel
like
Gibson's there. How cool is that?
it. Exactly. Anytime you get to play with Mel Gibson, I
Man,
mean, his movies are some of the best ones.
what a phenomenal
Absolutely.
actor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. All right. Who is your favorite superhero?
I don't really watch superhero movies. This is hard for me. I know, and you have all that stuff back there. I mean, I think I would just have to say like Wonder Woman just because I have Wonder Woman gear. I have Wonder
Mhm.
Woman cups and t-shirts and all that stuff. But I think I've only seen Batman and Spider-Man, but I've never seen any other superhero movies. Any. Can you believe that? Are you mad at me now?
I am pretty sad.
Hey, you stopped watching Walking Dead, so we're
I
even now.
know. We're even, I guess. Last question.
Sure.
If you were a board game, what would it be?
Catan. I didn't have to
Another
think about that. Isn't
another
that
Settlers
creepy?
of Catan. That is pretty creepy.
We love Settlers in Catan in this house.
Oh.
Like, you come over, we
Mhm.
chit chat for a minute, we're nice, then the game face comes on, and you're
And
like
then
our
play.
enemy. And we get crazy. Like, we had when Brian and I got married, we been married a long time, like, I don't know.
Mhm.
We started hosting game nights at our house. We would do one about every month, and we would have so many people come over that we would have several games going in the
Mhm.
house, people. And when we moved here to Georgia, like, one of the first things we did is we went around to our neighbors and brought them, like, cookies and introduced ourselves, and we just randomly said So, did y'all play Catan? None of them did. None of them.
Oh,
It's been
so you have to teach
heartbreaking
them
here.
all.
So, yeah. But I love that game.
So how many what's that word? Add-ons do you have for Catan?
I think we have all of them. There
Okay.
was one that we really didn't get into. I forgot the name of it. It was
Mhm.
probably one of the more recent ones. We have all the add-ons. We have the extensions. We have T-shirts. We have mugs. I think
Oh
we have
my
the
god.
poster somewhere. We have the game. Like it's bad. It's very nerdy.
There's this one guy who made a Catan board all out of wood.
Yep.
I was
Seen
like,
those. Those are
that
cool.
is so amazing. If I had a laser printer or a laser cutter, yeah, I would make those things all day long.
Those are they have the tables. We have our own card holders that are made out
Okay.
of wood.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. Oh, I
Nice.
love that game.
Love
Got me
it.
all excited now. Want to play Catan.
Sounds like a plan. It's the perfect thing to do. I mean, my one of my colleagues posted a picture of a home, and think about weekend plans, weekend travel plans. You know, you got the living room, bedroom, dining room. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
so I was gonna make a version where take the living room and call it the home theater, or your theater, and then put movies, and then in the kitchen you have the gourmet meal experience.
I love
And the
that. That's
dining,
cool.
right? So in the car, we're gonna go to the shop today. Anyways,
I love
work.
that.
It's yes, it's pretty awesome.
What's your favorite game? I have to know that real quick.
My favorite game,
Board game.
board game. Um, I like Settlers of Catan. It takes too long, and we have a 2-year-old, so it
Yeah,
takes a while to set
I
that
get
up.
it. Mhm.
Um, but one of my favorite board games, I think, would be. I haven't played a whole lot of them in a while. There's a Walking Dead one board game.
That's cool.
Yeah,
That's cool.
yeah. So yeah, I would play Catan all day if I can. Yeah, we actually. So at work, I was in Colorado for a while, and my wife had moved to Virginia already, and I would tell my colleagues, "Hey, let's play Catan after hours." So I brought the
Yeah.
board game, and we set it up, and we had some fun. It's a fun game. But yeah, that one, Monopoly is another one. But did you know that there's at least 1,000 new board games coming out every month?
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
Just like
crazy.
just like there's 3,000 to 4,000 new books. I think that number is a lot bigger every month. Board games are in
That's
the
its own
same.
industry. That's interesting. I
Yeah.
never even thought about that, but you're right. Wow.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Somebody said that I would love to be a board game that's soccer. And I found him a soccer board game. Like, here, you can go play this game.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah. All right. Where can my audience find you? And I know where to find you, but for the
Yeah,
podcast listeners,
yeah. So I'm at Heather Parody everywhere. So if you put in Heather Parody into anything, you'll find me.
beautiful. And Heather's also the show host for Unconventional Leaders, an
Mhm.
amazing podcast. So be sure to check that one out. Heather, thank you so much for your time. This was so awesome.
It was so fun. Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
I enjoyed it.
Love it. Thank you so much, and have a great one. Thank you for listening to Hacks and Hobbies. You can find additional information on the guest today on their website, hacksandhobbies.com. Please feel free to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss out on upcoming interviews with amazing guests. Today's was just crazy, and I've got the most fun birthday wishes yet through LinkedIn voice messages. Here's my friend, Erica Atkins.
Hello, 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 my friend. I am sending you birthday wishes. So here we go. Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday. May this day be special. May you take time out to, well, just gather your heart and share all the love that you have to give. Happy birthday. Bye-bye.